Welcome once again to Breakfast Central. And of course, our final top story this morning, a coalition of over 10,000 indigents of the Federal Capital Territory and civil society groups on Wednesday held a massive protest calling for the resignation of Wike, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. The protesters, who stormed the National Assembly complex under the aegis of the Network of Civil Societies for Economic Sustainability, said Wike is incompetent and lacks vision for the FCT. The crowd has never seen in the history of a crowd, of course, the size that, has not been very common in the FCT in the past. In his address, the group's convener, Adamu, Kabir, Matazu, described the former River State governor as a callous, uncouth, greedy, and selfish. He called on President Bola Tinubu to take decisive action to contain the excesses of Wike.
Nigeria stand united that Wike must go. He's an unnecessary distraction in the FCT. But President Bola Tinubu must remove Wike as Minister of FCT. He's bringing unnecessary distraction to the government. We as responsible citizens, we cannot accept this kind of uncouth, indecorous person to continue to pilot the affairs of FCT. His actions are avoidably controversial and hurting, and his diction has been foul, combative, and condescending, as if he's a deliberate punishment sent to the people of the Federal Capital Territory by President Tinubu. In Nyesom Wike's alleged penchant for land grabbing and cronyism has begun to emerge, as some of the land reforms are suspected to be targeted at dispossessing Nigerians of their properties and reacquiring them through cronies.
Joining us this morning is Public Affairs Analyst, Mr. Jide Ojo. He joins us virtually from the nation's capital, Abuja. Good morning, Mr. Ojo. Thank you very much for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Good morning.
What's going on in Abuja? Are there any protests happening around you? What's the situation?
Well, I'm not at the center of the protest, but sincerely speaking, I think the protesters, someone is paying the bill for them to do what they're doing. The protest is not born out of genuine interest to solve the problem of FCT. I've been living in FCT for 20 years now, and I do know that the ministers who have worked in FCT are actually those that people condemn. And one of them is Malam El-Rufai. I lost a plot of land to El-Rufai in 2005 along Airport Road when he asked all of us to vacate because we bought the land from Gwari people and there were no titles. And he actually tried his level best to restore Abuja to its original master plan. And so, Nyesom Wike is in the mode of El-Rufai. And definitely, he has stepped on several mighty toes of very important personalities, and now they want him out. Those protesters have their own ulterior motive. It's not so much because Wike is engaged in land grabbing or corrupt practices as they allege. He who alleges must prove. If they have any iota of evidence or proof about Nyesom Wike's land grabbing or corrupt practices, they know where to send their petitions to. There are anti-corruption agencies all over the place. Why didn't they go and file petitions with EFCC, with ICPC, with Code of Conduct Bureau, and the rest? So, taking their protest to National Assembly cannot remove a minister. It can only recommend removal. It is every of the ministers serve at the pleasure of Mr. President, which is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And he gave a marching order to Nyesom Wike to the extent that the president even said, if he, as president, requests for a plot of land, it should not be given. Now, Osarogie has embarked on land reforms. By the way, I have not profited one shishi from Osarogie, so nobody should think, oh, after all, maybe I'm a profiteer. You know, I don't have a property in Abuja. I don't even own. I'm living in a rented apartment. But you see, there have been a lot of land racketeering in FCT. And many of those involved are actually indigenes of FCT themselves, because they claim ownership of the land, whereas all lands have been vested in the governor of a state. And the minister of FCT is the governor of FCT. So many of them have had their land taken over by government. These are land that they have sold to developers, illegally sold. If you listen to Osarogie sometime recently, he said when he was governor of Rivers State, that the Rivers State government got 3 fake certificates of occupancy from FCT. As a government, not as individual, 3 fake certificates of occupancy. The biggest fraud happening in FCT is that of land racketeering.
Yeah.
And because of indigene claim to land, they use their prerogative to sell land. I bought from Wari Chief in 2005. And when Erufai asked all of us who are living in Chika later, you know, Piakasa and the rest, that we should leave, that is government's land. We couldn't go to court, we couldn't challenge him, because we knew as at that time that land was sold for 50, 100 million. We were buying land for 50,000 from Wari Chief.
All right.
How do you think you can buy that kind of cheap land, build on it, and you think that government will not come and take over whatever you have erected on it?
Yeah, I mean, but would you have a clue as to who might be, because you've said that this is likely a sponsored protest. So would you have an idea, you know, who might be, you know, sponsoring protests against the FCT minister? That's one. And then also, you know, yes, you know, he has, you know, it is within his right, you know, of course, as minister to return Abuja to the master plan, as they always say, master plan, master plan, master plan. But do you also think that he has carried himself, you know, appropriately, and the way that the minister of the FCT should carry himself, with his utterances and with the way that he's also, you know, basically just carried himself as an individual? Do you think that the residents of Abuja, you know, find him, you know, welcoming and warming and all of that? But first question first. This
is it, my brother. I found Osarogie as a very brash, combative individual.
Yeah.
And he rules like emperor. He bears no, you know, no. He doesn't want you to question his authority. I know he has that personality issue, if you can call that an issue. But the president saw something in him that made him to appoint him. The same character traits that Osarogie has is what Erufai has. And I tell you for free, one of the best FCT ministers, to the best of my knowledge in this Fourth Republic, is Malam Nasir Erufai. Anyone that wants to go or embark on urban renewal would definitely be unpopular with people. Look at what's happening in Lagos State. With the pulling down demolition that is taking place in Lagos State, particularly on Lekki Ajah axis, are they not reading ethnic coloration to it? Are people not going on here to say, oh, it's because the Igbos did not vote for Sanwo-Olu second term, that's why it's... You know, people will always talk. And if you want to achieve anything in government, you must be deaf to certain cacophonies. That is my own. I do not stand to profit anything from this administration. I'm not a government apologist. I don't work for government. I'm a private individual. I'm a consultant, but I've never consulted for FCTA or for federal government or any state government. But truth be told, as somebody who has lived in this place for 20 years, I know enough to know about the corrupt practices that is going on at AGs.
Yeah. So is it likely
how people just allocate land recklessly, give fake certificate of occupancy, build illegally across, under the electricity pole and on
Mr.
water
Ojo,
planes and in green areas.
Mr. Ojo, in the interest of time,
when they want to pull it down, you start shouting that the man is combative, he's rash. He has those character traits. I'm not saying he doesn't have it. But look, if you must achieve anything, you cannot please anybody. The last FCT minister tried to please everybody. At the end of the day, he could not achieve much.
Yeah.
He was still returning money to the treasury.
Yeah, all right.
When there were infrastructural deficit in FCT.
All right, Mr.
So
Ojo.
let's give Indecorous a chance. If there are allegations of corrupt practice against him, let it be filed with the anti-corruption agencies.
Yeah.
Or, send it to the presidency. Then the president will look into it and might redeploy him. But thus far, I do not think, what Wike has done well. Because I belong to my WhatsApp platform. I saw landlords being asked to come and recertify their land titles. That in itself will have piqued a lot of people against him.
All right,
because he's
Mr. Ojo,
to come and pay millions.
Unfortunately, there are many angles to this conversation that I want to have. I'd love to ask you, setting your thoughts as to some of the policies he's trying to implement in the FCT, but we don't have enough time for that. But we need to have that conversation. So hopefully we can have you tomorrow to talk more about this if you'd give us some time. But thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Do have a great day.
You as well.